That line that you just said is so powerful. People can, have all the best interest for you, but they have no idea of your capacity.
No.
It's so true. And you can't expect them to either.
Yeah.
And you can't make their opinion your reality, and you can't expect that their capacity is yours or their capacity for you is yours.
I will tell you, like, other people's worry for you is often wrapped in love, right? I say this out of experience with my wife, who, in handing me the first draft of Girl Wash Your Face, printed out on 8.5 by 11 paper, binder clipped, I read it and thought that the vulnerability that she was representing in this book was a mistake. I was 100% certain of it. It was driven by my fear and my believing that we'd worked too hard on the managing of optics, that she might now compromise in her honesty and truth. And so I worked with every ounce of my being, wrapped in love, to convince her to not publish a book that has now sold 4 million copies, right? Like a book that, frankly, because of the thousands of letters that I've read of its impact, actually afforded me the opportunity to write this book.
I love that.
I, best friend, partner, the person who loves her the most, who she loves and craves love from the most, was worried about her expressing her truth. And if I'd been successful in stunting, changing, stopping the publishing of that book, we wouldn't have the opportunity we have with this company. We wouldn't have moved. I may very well have still been stuck in this rut. So honor that the intentions of the people in your life that may be attempting to hold you back are being wrapped in good or in love, but do not hold them as holy. Do not hold them as a 100% truth, because they may very well just be a manifestation of their fear, and you will get to the end of your life as the one who gets to carry the regret, not the person who is afraid of you pursuing the full unlocking of the passion and potential of your life.
Thank you for sharing that. What you just shared, that's hard to live with. That's, hard to live with if you haven't processes like you have. Like, thank you for sharing that, because 4 million copies. Ooh.
Right.
It's like, can you imagine the amount of lives that have been changed, impacted, the letters, like,
right?
Just imagine all of that would have been lost if she had. And what did she do? Did she believe you? Did she trust you? Where did she land in that process of processing you, the person who loves her the most and she wants love from the most? How did she react to that initial fear that you shared?
The great news is she had the blessing of having developed a skin for criticism earlier in her publishing career.
Right.
The first book she wrote, she submitted to 22 publishing houses. There were 7 that represented interest, and each of them said if she were to add sex to the book, because it was a sweet, romantic fiction book, without any of the things that at the time 50 Shades of Grey is happening in the background that 50 Shades of Grey had. And when she decided not to a person, they said, this book will not work, it will not sell, you should not publish it. And she had to, in that moment, ask herself, do I listen to the authority of the experts in this field, or do I publish this book myself? After she got done being upset, she picked herself up, looked up online, how do you publish a book yourself? Published it. It started working, worked so well that a publisher reached out and asked not only if they could acquire the rights, but turn it into a series. She wrote 3 books, led to a couple of cookbooks, led to the fiction, now transitioning into nonfiction, and she wrote Go Wash Your Face. If she'd listened to voices of authority at the first book, that book would still be, as she would tell you, sitting on a screen of her computer. So she, bless her, had from the word go this belief in self that was stronger than the voice of authority. And so as another voice of authority, her husband, best friend, the one who's looking out for her, walked into this journey to becoming the writer and author that she is. She had at least a track record and muscle memory herself of having pushed past the expert opinion of authorities in the space because of her staying grounded and connected to her truth and not their word.
Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing that too. Yeah, so powerful. So powerful. Everything you're sharing, and I feel like we need you to get you back for a part 2 to talk business, CEO, entrepreneurship. But today we wanted to pay homage to your new book, which I can't wait for everyone to go and get. Get Out of Your Own Way, A Skeptic's Guide to Growth and Fulfillment. Dave Hollis, make sure you go out and grab a copy of this book. I can honestly say, just from my conversations with Dave and from even just browsing through some of these chapters, the way it's written is it's perfectly designed to help you through whatever you're trying to break through. Like, I can see that. It's perfectly designed to help you. Like, it's not, there's no ego in this book. It's not about him. It's about lies. And we can all identify with one of those lies, at least, probably all of them. And you may need to substitute a couple of words. But the point is, these are all the lies we've all been telling ourselves for our whole lives. So here's the book that's going to help you unlie to yourself. And it's all in here. So please go out and get a copy of the book. You can pre-order it right now, and it's out in March. What's the exact date?
March 10.
March 10th is the exact date. So if you're listening to this at the right time, then it's already out. Or go and pre-order it if you're listening to it a bit before. We'll figure it out before we send this out. And please go check out Dave on Instagram. That's where I kind of watch him and admire him and all the incredible work that he does. But I really feel we need to bring you back. I want a business session.
I'm in.
I want an entrepreneurship session. I want a coaching session to dive into your incredible mind. And I want to bring in Rachel as well and do a couple session as well. So we need to plan for that. But we end every interview with a final 5. This is a rapid fire round. It's 1 word to 1 sentence answers maximum.
Okay.
I will probably ask you for more because you're interesting and fascinating. But let's start with the number 1 question. The best relationship lesson you've learned in the past 12 months?
Go to bed angry.
Oh, no, okay. Now, oh, wow, okay, here we go. All right, okay, there goes my final 5. Explain that. Yeah.
I know there's such a colloquialism around, like, don't go to bed angry. But most of the time when we're ready to have the conversation that we need to when we're angry, there's not enough time to fully unpack the conversation. And we're starting it in this emotional state that hasn't afforded us enough time to think about how we'd like to deliver it. So I would rather have backs turned, fall asleep, let some of the emotion go, and then have an objective conversation when you've been able to think about how you can represent your perspective in a way that they can hear it, and how you can hear them without formulating your response. Because every time we've had a conversation right before bedtime, it's, I'm not really listening. I am arming a response to the thing that you're saying, and it never, ever works out. So go to bed angry.
Okay, so you need to come back for a relationship session also. That's brilliant. And that's so true. So my wife taught me that because I'm one of these people that's like, let's work it out. Let's figure it out. And I'm good even in the moment at putting my emotion aside to some degree, but my wife's always been the one who's like, no, I need to process this. Let me think about it. And so often when we first got together, I'd be that guy going, we can't go to sleep. We're not going to sleep angry.
Yeah.
Like I'd be that guy. And then she'd be like, no, I need time to process it. I'm like, no, we have to do it right now. And it took me a while, but she
That's
trained
good.
me in that direction.
That's
so,
good.
So you and my wife are in agreement
in.
on this one. So, okay, awesome. The best business lesson you've learned in the last 12 months?
We've had this opportunity, unbelievably, to learn from John Maxwell. He's become a mentor of Rachel's, and he gave us this word: a leader never has 2 good days in a row.
Wow. Okay, I've never heard that before.
You want to
Yeah,
use more than one sentence?
I'm ruining it. You're great at this, by the way.
Here's the headline.
Go for it, yeah.
If you're pursuing something of consequence, if you're pursuing something that matters, that's going to have impact, it comes with the guarantee that things will inevitably go wrong, because nothing of impact is simple. And if you are someone who's adverse to the idea of having bad days, then you're not creating something that matters. And coming out of my corporate environment, trust me, I really struggled with this idea that things could go wrong at the frequency that they feel like they are, until I realized that the company that we're trying to be 5 years from now will not come into existence if we don't have as many bad days as we do good, because the bad days are the one that help us grow.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love that. Great answer, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay. Third, what is the best lesson you've learned for yourself in the last 12 months? Like the lesson you've learned about yourself.
So I thought that the hardest decision, or the hard decision that I made, was leaving the harbor, leaving certainty for the opportunity to grow, that leaving Disney for this entrepreneurial journey, doing this work together was the hard choice. And what I've come to appreciate is that leaving the harbor is a hard choice, but staying on the boat in the waves is harder. And
so true.
And so I want to encourage anyone who feels like they need to make life change, who it's now time for you to leave this harbor of certainty and security for the opportunity to grow. Yep, be prepared for that being triggering and tough, but also the point is that leaving the harbor is hard. And so it was a thing that took some time for me to appreciate, that me becoming the captain truly of this ship, where the waves, though they be rocky, I can stand sturdy on top of it for having acquired sea legs that really allow me now to command this ship at sea. That's been the work of this last year. And I didn't think it was going to be as hard as it was, but it's supposed to be hard. If it isn't hard, it isn't actually producing the growth.
Great. Okay. Question number 4. I know you believe in servant leadership inside the company that you've built and built so wonderfully. Tell me the top 3 qualities you try and embody to embody servant leadership.
Well, we start with a commitment of giving back to the community that we're serving, or supporting at a very least the causes that matter to them most. So we set up a foundation. 10% of our company proceeds are immediately put back against causes that are either important to us and aligned with our company's core values, or have been represented by the community as things that they care about. So when we go into a city for a live event, we find a cause for women that is in that city so that we can show up well for them. We were just recently in Florida and found a local women's shelter that we were able to show up, spend some time, and then surprise them from the stage with a donation of, like, this audience. They were able to help support you by having come here today. So one is just by putting our money where our mouth is. We say servant leadership is important, but we want to be able to also support things. Showing up well for our team and trying our best to meet them where they need to be met. We are really interested in understanding the individual wiring of our employees. So they've each taken Enneagram tests. We've had them take love language tests, so that when it comes to, are you a words of affirmation person? Are you a 3 or are you a 9, right? And it's a little bit, right? Like, for anyone who's not familiar with these personality diagnostics, it might seem a little crazy, and my former self would have called it voodoo. But truly the wiring of each of these humans individually is different, and understanding how they're individually wired allows us to serve them as the people who are serving our audience really, really well. So we try to stay connected to their humanity and show up well. And then just the work that we're doing, truly, I left something that society put a lot of value on, working inside of Hollywood and entertainment and doing work that was about carpets and titles, for this opportunity to place tools into people's hands. And the way that in seeing the comments or getting the letters, we have this opportunity once a week in our HOCO Convo, where the whole team comes together. Our customer service leader reads a couple of letters from the community who have represented the impact of the tools. And it makes the work, even on the days when it's hard, maybe especially on the days when it's hard, feel so worth it, because you're connecting to someone's story of triumph through hard times, in part because of the way that you've come alongside them or encouraged them or whatever it might be.
I love it. And 5th and final question, as you can see, this has been the worst rapid fire.
This is not a one-word thing at all.
Because of me. Because of me. Because because of you.
It is because of me. This is terrible.
It's so interesting that I have to. Okay. 5th and final question, which is going to be a 1-sentence answer, as I want it to be. The one reason people should read this book. And I know there's 20.
Wow. One reason. because you owe it to yourself to stay out of your own way.
That's nice. Amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Dave.
Jay,
This
I
was
really
awesome.
appreciate it, brother.
Dave, this was amazing.
Thank you,
Anyone
man.
who's been listening and watching, make sure you go out and grab the book, Get Out of Your Own Way, A Skeptic's Guide to Growth and Fulfillment. Dave Hollis, make sure you go grab a copy of this book. And Dave will definitely be back with more business and relationship lessons. I'm going to make sure of it because we could talk about that for another hour too. So we will make sure of that. Thank you so much for listening and watching today. Make sure you share this. Make sure you tag me and Dave in any of the wisdom, the nuggets, any of the insights that Dave shared today that really stood out to you. There were a ton that stood out to me. You know, when he talked about people not understanding our capacity, huge. Like, how many times do we let people decide our capacity? When he talked about being vulnerable with ourselves and breaking through, when he was talking about drinking alcohol and having to find a habit to replace that, huge, because we've all got vices that are slowing us down. And just now, what he was telling us about relationships and having rules about relationships, as you can see, that's a symphony that runs through everything Dave's talking about, rules and relationships. There's been huge ones for me. Make sure you tell me yours. Tag us both in to the Instagram post or Twitter, whatever you're on, and we'd love to interact with all of you. Thank you so much for listening, Dave. You're awesome. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, bro.